Welcome to Purpose After Sports, where we interview athletes to share their post-sport journeys and explore how they are reinventing what it means to compete. Today we have Stephen Lee. So happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So let's just get right to it. Tell me about your sports history, when we started, what sports we did.
Okay, yeah. I played football when I was younger, super young. And then everyone was telling me to get into wrestling, and I was like, I'll just hold back on it because my dad and my uncles all wrestled. They were pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I joined sixth grade and then played football and wrestled throughout junior high and high school, and then wrestled in college. So, yeah. That's
Where
really
are you
about
from?
it. Bloomington.
Born and raised?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So I was born in Peoria, but we moved here when I was like 2 or something. So
Okay.
then I was here, and I wrestled for Chittix in Normal, like sixth grade, and then swapped over to Bloomington, and they had better wrestling, and yeah.
They do. Pretty good wrestlers over there. What made you make that decision to do wrestling? Do you think it was you or just kind of everyone else?
I think it started with everyone else.
Yeah.
Like telling me to do it. I never tried it before, so I'd like just hopped into it, and I knew I'd be like somewhat decent because I was aggressive as a kid. So
Yeah.
And then, so what really kind of like, I guess, made me want to wrestle is I went to my first tournament ever when sixth grade year, and then I won my first tournament. So then I was like, oh, I'm probably pretty decent at this. Yeah, so
Let's stick with it.
I think that kicked it off for sure. And then just like the bloodline and like, yeah, definitely my dad and my uncles being good at wrestling. So
And then you wrestled in college too.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you end up wrestling in college?
Loris College in Dubuque, Iowa. They're like a really tough D3 school. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I got the best experience I could have.
So let's go into college. What was it like, the jump and deciding to focus just on wrestling?
It was definitely a little different because I was always busy like all year round. Like I would wrestle all year round in high school too,
Yeah.
because freestyle and Greco. But it's definitely a big jump because like in high school you have like, people are good, but people aren't that good really. Like
Yeah.
there's really good kids, and then there's like very, very mediocre kids in high school that you kind of just destroy.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you get to college though, I feel like there's still like a few people that aren't that great, but I feel like everybody that you wrestle is like pretty
Competitive.
solid. Yeah, like high school was a lot easier than college for sure.
Yeah.
And I was in the military too, so it was like a little weird, like my first 2 years. All right, so the recruitment process for Loris was like, it's a very expensive school. So I was like, I'm gonna join the military and then, have them help pay for school.
Right.
And then they said like, I wouldn't be deployed, I wouldn't ever miss a tournament or a meet or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just like a complete lie, really. So like,
Wow.
I would miss tournaments and meets, and I mean, not all of them, right? But
Yeah.
like, I still did miss a good amount, and I had a lot more extra responsibility on top of that. So I couldn't just focus on school and wrestling.
Yeah.
So the first like 2 years was solid. Like, I don't know. So I got there with like 2 totes. Like I didn't know what college was like at all. I got there
Yeah.
with like 2 totes of like clothes, and I was like, all right, let's do it. And then he was like, so he hooked me up with like, I got into a house and then was working out there. So I was just, the first year I was out there, I didn't enroll in school because I was going to go to basic training. So I just worked and practiced there for like an entire year.
And did you have a conversation with your coach, or how did that go?
Yeah, so we had the conversation with like my Army recruiter, and then I had Stevie Robbins with me, who was, I don't know, great dude, who's kind of like been like somewhat of a mentor my entire life, kind of pulled my head out of my butt and was like, you should go to college and wrestle. So I was like, that's what I did. But we had that conversation. He was like, if you want your benefits when you go to school, don't enroll this year. He goes, go to basic training, get that out the way. Because once you finish basic, then you're in the military and you can start getting your benefits. So that's what I did in like 2017, 2018. And then, yeah, then I had my first year, which was all right. It was definitely a wake-up call. Like, you need to get better and stronger. And yeah, you just need to work on wrestling. And then sophomore year, like same ordeal. I mean, I was definitely a lot better than my freshman year, but I was still like in the grand scheme of things, like mediocre in college. Like I wasn't where I was in like high school or junior high, where I always felt like I was the top guy or anything like that. Like I was behind somebody, and then like the lineup at Loris was just like, I mean, we were deep for like, I don't know, 3 guys out of weight class, just like stacked, and whoever, you know, would make the starting lineup would probably be an All-American. So half the battle was making the lineup.
Yeah.
Which I never ended up doing, but I definitely, you know, wrestled in some varsity tournaments and matches and stuff like that. But ultimately, I never broke the lineup. But I mean, that's all a part of the process, and I feel like I kind of needed that to like, I don't know, it'll humble you in a way, and then it'll also like, you kind of know what you need to work on and throw some adversity at you. But yeah, the first 2 years was like just any college wrestler, and then I got deployed when COVID was happening.
So what year are we now in college?
2020.
Okay.
I got deployed, and yeah, so I missed a whole year, and like,
Crap.
yeah, missed an entire year. I was out there for like 10 months. It was, I don't know, it was a little weird missing a whole year and then seeing everybody like, you're out there doing whatever, and like, I don't know, it's kind of weird because like time doesn't stop here, but over there it just feels like you're just there, really. Like,
And so did you still have to do classes, or how did that work? No.
I just skipped an entire year and then came back and then did my junior and senior year.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but like, I don't know, I did a lot of growing up on that, and like, I don't know, with like, and then I came back and then I worked my tail off and still didn't make the lineup, but it kind of like put things into perspective. Like, life isn't just about wrestling. Like, I'm not just a wrestler, like I'm a decent person. Yeah, that's ultimately the goal, is to be a decent human and continue like the routine that I have from wrestling. So
Yeah.
I think that kind of put things into perspective, but it was definitely weird coming back after a year, and then it's like guys that I came in with are either graduated, because remember that like gap year I took at the beginning was like the class that I came in with.
Right.
So then when I got back, those guys were graduated, more new guys came in. The team just I felt a little older on the team than probably.
But still a newbie kind of in a way.
Yeah, I felt older, as in like a lot of them were like 2-3 years younger than me.
Yeah.
So it was like a little like weird like that. Like they loved like, I don't know, parties and like, obviously not in season, but out of season. Like at that point, I'm just like, I've already done all this in my first couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. So with your last 2 years, were you able to focus more on wrestling, or is it still that crazy schedule?
Definitely crazy schedule still, but the money that I was able to save up from deployment, I didn't really have to work my junior and senior year.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
that was nice. So I was able to focus on school and wrestling, and then
Yeah.
my schooling went way up. Like then I started getting above like 3.4s and made the dean's list last couple years.
That's awesome.
So that was nice, but yeah, like I said, like season was always a grind.
Yeah.
Like, it's a long season too, and wrestling is a super grueling sport, so it's like, yeah, it's kind of the same stuff, like just working your tail off. Sometimes it felt like it was for nothing because I wasn't breaking the lineup, but ultimately everybody has a role on the team, and like, yeah, you got to get the starting guy better. Like
Right.
you can't just go in there and like half-ass it or whatever.
So if you don't make that lineup, do you still technically get to travel with the team, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, coach will pick like who goes to like the varsity tournaments and like who's the backups, and like sometimes I would get picked to go to like certain meets that other JV guys wouldn't go. Sometimes I wouldn't get picked. It's kind of all on the coach's decision. But any open tournament or like bigger tournaments, I definitely would wrestle at.
Nice. So with deciding to kind of let go of football, did you miss it, or what made you make that decision?
Yeah, so in high school, I was a lot smaller. I was probably like, I don't know, you've known me, so I was probably like 5'4", like 5'5", like 120 pounds.
Yeah.
So that was definitely a deciding factor of like, I'm not probably going to make it to the NFL, which is kind of like sad to say, but sometimes you got to like face reality. If you're like
Right.
5'4", 120 pounds, you're not really good. Like someone like Big John just going to like shove you with one arm, push you over.
Yeah.
But nah, I was good at football. Like, I don't know, I got like defensive MVP my senior year. I didn't even go out junior year because I wanted to focus on wrestling, and they were like, come out, like you got to come out, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And my brother, when he was in high school, he got defensive MVP his senior year, so then he can't hold that over my head too. So that was pretty cool. And I mean,
Yeah.
it was fun. Like all my friends were football players too. So,
Yeah.
but I definitely missed it. I would say like when I would see some, because obviously I got a little bigger, and then I would see like some of the guys on like the Loras football team, and I'm like, I think I could start for sure. Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I mean, I definitely missed it. Like it was a lot. I would say it was more fun than wrestling, but wrestling was more challenging, which I liked.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, I dedicated a lot of my life to wrestling, so football was more fun than like as serious, I would say.
Yeah.
Wrestling got very serious probably like my sophomore, junior year. So when I won fresh soft state sophomore year, and that's when I was like, I should probably do this in college. I was like,
Yeah.
that's when I started going like off season. Like I was always doing off season, but just wrestling. But like after sophomore year, I started like lifting out of season and doing like a lot of tire flips and like farmer care. Like I would actually work out outside of like just wrestling.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I think that definitely helped me a lot going into junior year, because then I took fourth at regular state. Like so fresh off states, if you don't make it to actual state, like they have like a separate thing for like freshmen and sophomores, and instead of like dividing classes, they just throw 1A, 2A, and 3A into one big tournament.
Okay.
And then, I mean, it was tough. It was a tough tournament, but I ended up winning it that year. Then junior year, I actually made it to state, took fourth. And then senior year, I had a pretty tough sectional, I would say, for sure. Probably the toughest I don't know about the state. Like, I don't want to say, like, I like to stay a little humble. But
Yeah.
I would say, like, it was a very, very tough sectional. And, like, a couple of the guys that were there, I beat one dude, like, probably 4 or 5 times in the last, like, 2 years. So he kind of, like, figured out my style and was able to, like, wrestle a really good match and like slow the match down to where I couldn't do what I needed to do to beat him. I don't know. Kid got a lot better and ended up beating me, and like they call it the heartbreaker match, whereas like you're either going to state or you're not. And then I lost that match, so I didn't even go to state senior year. And that's when I was being an idiot after. And then Steve Robbins was like, I don't know, kind of like mentored me and was like,
Yeah.
you need to go wrestle in college. Because I had a good amount of letters. Like I had a couple I probably had like 3 or 4 D1, a bunch of D2, a bunch of D3. But at the time, like I I didn't even know like what to do with them, where to start.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, this is pretty overwhelming. I had no help, so I was like, screw it. I'm like, I'll just work at McDonald's and be an idiot for a year or so. And then, no, he was like, you should go wrestle in college. Loris really wants you. He was like, TJ, who was the coach at the time, called and was like, you know, we need to get you up here, blah, 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 blah. He was like, I'm going to give you Kit's number. And Kit was the assistant coach there.
Okay.
And then he got me set up and was like, yeah, we're going to have you take the ACT here. And he was like, if you get in, then that's all we're really looking for right now. So then, because I got kicked out of my first ACT at Bloomington. Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Oh, Steven.
Yeah, I like bubbled in answers that I apparently wasn't supposed to go back and bubble in. So then I got kicked out. I was like, dude, you're like half a football field down. Like, how do you even know that I did this?
There's proctors in
I know. It was,
Oh my
so then I got kicked out. And then, yeah, Kit set me up with the ACT there. And then,
That's awesome.
yeah, then he was like, if you get a score high enough, he was like, you're in. So then I ended up getting in and then went back home, grabbed 2 little tubs, and then
Went off.
drove back up there and ended up there.
What would you say for anybody kind of needing to make that or wanting to make that decision to go to college to play the sport? Worth it? Did it teach you a lot? Any regrets?
That's a good question. Yeah. I would say definitely do it,
Yeah.
especially like sports-wise. Like, I don't know, it teaches you a lot, and it'll teach you, you know, if you think you're really good, like you'll figure out like how good you are once you get to college. Yeah, like, I don't know, people, I feel like, especially in Iowa, like Illinois has great wrestling, but Iowa, I feel like has a I think it's hard to say really, because Illinois and Iowa are probably like very like top tier wrestling states, especially in high school. But Iowa has like this culture of like, they love wrestling. It doesn't matter, D3, D2, D1, everywhere in Iowa loves wrestling. So like those kids are bred for nothing but wrestling since like a child.
Yeah.
Like, so like you'll get tough, really. Like you'll learn to get tough. But back to like the question outside of wrestling and like, should you do it in college? I think you should definitely do it. I don't think you're not gonna change unless you change something. So like staying in like the same spot and expecting different results is like the definition of insanity. So like if you want to get better and you want better competition, definitely go to college and do whatever, like basketball, football, wrestling, I don't know. But like, I think it'll definitely help you mature too, and then like see some more people and like experience new things. Like if you're really good at a sport and you might not like school that much, like I don't know, I think you should bite the bullet and do some more schooling and I don't know.
Paid for it.
Yeah, and like yeah, I think going to college for me was probably the best thing that could have happened to me. Really, like you have mentors there that like want to see you be the best version of yourself. And for me, I got that at Loris. So like I had a few coaches like change around, like one went to a different school, had a new coach come in, but all the philosophies were like the same. It was like
That's awesome.
be a better version of yourself like every day. And granted, that's not like, I mean, in a perfect world, you could do that, but like, it's just instilling that into your mind to be like a decent person at the end of the day, because that's what it's about, like really, like is to be better than you were, you know, 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. So like, I feel like they all kind of had that same philosophy.
Do you miss the physical intensity, physically and mentally, of wrestling at all?
Yes and no. Like, yes, I miss it because like after a hard practice and like you're like, oh, that was great. But I was dealing with like, my body was just beat up after a while, and like my shoulder is still kind of screwed up. So like yeah, there were times where like I don't know, it was very challenging, very very challenging, physical wise and mental very like that's where I think I get my mentality is like from wrestling. And I don't think I'm biased, but I don't think any other sport really will teach you the type of mentality wrestling kind of instills in you. There's some times where it's just like overwhelming, but it's like it teaches you so much. It really does. Like
because not only do you have to work to get on the lineup, you have to worry about your own weight. You have to worry about, I mean, there's so many different aspects. And then, I mean, we'll get into it with the females that you got to coach and experience that side of it. But worrying about body image and all that stuff that comes with. So yeah, wrestling is for a different breed for sure.
Yeah, sport, like, it was just like during season, it's just like your diet has to be good. Like you wake up in the morning, you have to get something in your body to keep your start your metabolism, get a workout in the morning. Then you got classes, and then you got practice after. Then you got homework after that. And you just do it over and over and over and over. And like, especially during season, like when you see other college kids like going out and drinking and having a blast, like you got to stick to your diet. You can't be, the guy to like mess with the culture and go out and drink. Like you might get 2 workouts in a day on the weekend while other people are, I don't know, drinking like 15, 20 beers. It's like...
Have you found any new passions or routines that you incorporate now that are similar to when you were wrestling?
Yeah, I would say like for work at least, like I was never a morning person before college. I'm still not really a morning person, but it's easier to get up for work early in the morning just because I feel like I've done that for a while. So I would say that, and then like making sure I get a workout almost every day. Like now it's a little different just because like I do manual labor, so it's like I'm getting a workout already at work, but like after work, being tired, not wanting to go, and then like doing it anyway. That was like a big saying at Loras, was like do it anyway, and they're Loras College Dewhawks, so it's
No, it makes sense.
so like they would say like do it anyway, but like I feel like that's instilled in me a little bit. Is like when you're tired and you don't want to like do something that's gonna help you out, just suck it up and like do it anyway.
I think that sums up college sports. That's great. Were there any emotional struggles that you didn't anticipate after leaving sports?
I think just hitting reality. Because like you're at college, your only focus is like school, wrestling, and then a job sometimes. Like at least for me, it was like during the summer and like the Army stuff. But like, yeah, it's like having that, like every life is so simple, like in a way. Like you know what you need to do. You just have to do it.
Yeah.
And when you get out, you don't have that guidance, that mentorship, asking your coaches what you should do. Like I could still like ask them what I should do. But like now that I'm more grown, like you're facing reality and like, you're always like, oh, I can't wait to go and work and get paid for like doing this stuff. And then now you're doing it and you're like, it's like 6 a.m. and you're like, oh, I gotta leave for work now. So like, yeah, life was just a lot more simple in college. Like you just do what everybody else is doing. And now you're like more of an individual and you have to do what you think is best. And if those decisions aren't right, then you got to face the consequences. And pretty good friends with Jaron Glosser, the head coach. Friends with Savion, Devontae, who are coaches here. Michael Triplett, who also wrestled at Loras and coaches at...
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, he was pretty good. He coaches at Community.
Okay.
I think he wrestled at West, but he coaches at Community now. But yeah, and I still talk to all my wrestling buddies. And
do you really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're kind of destroying me in a fantasy league right now, so it's fun.
So you coached for a little bit after your college career. What got you into it? Did you always think about being a coach?
Yeah, I thought about being a coach before, just because like I'm able to talk to people well. I've been in the life and like haven't, you know, achieved all of my goals that I set out, and like dealing with that emotionally, like while wrestling in college, like I feel like I have a good grasp on like talking to people who have been or are going through similar situations. I've been in the room with great guys, like Shane Legal, Jacob Krako, Gabe Pfizer, like great guys like that who like did what should be done to like be an All-American or a national champ. So like I've seen what should be done. I've done what should be done. I've done what I shouldn't have done. Like
Yeah.
I've just watched it. So like I feel like I could relate to him very well. And yeah, so I just get along with people pretty well and talk to people pretty well. So I was like, Glosser was saying that there was an assistant position open for the girls team. And he was like, I think you'd be great at it with like your social work background and like how you're able to communicate with people and like just I was really good at freestyle and Greco, and
And
that's
this
what
is the girls' team at the college you went to? Okay.
and I was so girls wrestle freestyle, and I was good at freestyle and Greco. I think better than I was folk style, which is like what everybody wrestles during season. And girls wrestle freestyle, and I have a good amount of knowledge from that. And yeah, I was like, I'll look into it, and I looked into it, signed up, put my application in, and then at homecoming, I talked to the head women's coach, Will Kelly, and yeah, he said he would love to have me, and then like show me around campus. But I've already seen campus, and like I don't know, we connected pretty well, and then yeah, I got hired, and then got a paraprofessional position at a local junior high school. So that was like the only thing that worked with the girls' schedule because they practice at 3:30. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so that was how I got into it.
What's the biggest difference between women's wrestling, being a coach on that side of it?
I think mentality and everything stays the same, like especially with wrestling. I think the mentality and what you preach stays the same, and like practices and like going hard and teaching them about dieting and like all that stuff. But there is a lot more that goes into women's and men, good and bad.
Yeah.
So like at least like you tell the guys to, and I also coached a team that like some of the girls never wrestled before.
Okay.
They were just like, I want to go out for it, and did it in college. So like you had to really break it down from like the basics. And thankfully I had Will Kelly because he was a technique guru. Like he just was able to explain it very well. And like the guys, it's really not the case because I don't know, it's an established team.
Gotcha.
The women's is not an established team yet.
Has coaching impacted the sport in a different way than when you were an athlete?
Yeah, I think when I was an athlete, it was just like go in there, do your stuff, learn a little more, like try to get better each day, whether that be like going harder, drilling a move 1,000 times. But like when you're a coach, I feel like you also I personally learned more when I was a coach because I was able to I've never really, it's all muscle memory, right? So like when I hit a double leg or a single leg or a high crotch, whatever it is, like it's all muscle memory because I've done it for so long. But like actually breaking it down and like explaining it to somebody is a lot different than like, I can show you a move, like 5 seconds it would take me to hit a move. But explaining the move is a lot different than me just hitting it, because then I have to explain where my feet go, where my knees go, where my hands position, a certain lock that you need to have, where your neck, like where your neck position needs to go, stuff like that. So I think I learned more as a coach just from like one, doing it 1,000 times or showing it 1,000 times, but like also kind of like looking back and like explaining it. Like you take a step back from the sport and watch it. And I think the coolest part of being a coach, because I helped out with the Dubuque Wrestling Club too, which is little kids.
Okay.
And I think with helping those kids out and the girls, I think it was cool to see like the progress they would make, especially the girls that like didn't never wrestled before. And then you would have them go live and they like just they throw a girl and you're like, I taught her that. Like it's satisfying, it's like rewarding. But I think the biggest thing for being an athlete and a coach is like, as a coach, you get to like step back and actually look at it and like see the progress from when you're an athlete and you're just always like a robot, like a machine in a way. Like you're just going, trying to get better. And with coaching, I gotta step back and actually learn like how people may learn better, or you know, what it takes to actually hit a high crotch, or like the positioning of the feet and the double leg. It's a lot different as a coach because it's muscle memory for you, but explaining it to somebody and like, yeah, I think explaining it to somebody really helps you take a step back and like actually know it.
What advice would you give to former athletes, if you could give them any piece of advice?
That's a good one. It's a deep one. Like athletes coming up, or just any athlete in general?
Just any former athlete in general.
I would say you're more than your sport. I would definitely say you're more than your sport, and at the end of the day, your goal should be to be a decent human, and anybody you coach or run into, that should be the ultimate goal. And it's not to be the best at your sport like it is, but there's more to life than wrestling or football or basketball or tennis, whatever. There's more to life than just your sport. And I think that's the biggest piece of advice I can give to anybody is you're more than your sport.
I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for being here. Any
Come on, put it here.
Any things that you want to talk about that we didn't, that you want to say, or any advice or words of wisdom?
I was yapping the whole time, so.
We need that.
Yeah, I think
Certified proud yapper.
Yeah. I don't really have anything. I just want to say thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, of course. You were an amazing athlete, but an even better person.